chance to work on all the functions. So even once you start working on Abinitio project also, so 99% you will be working on lookup function only, and sometimes you will be using lookup match, lookup count, lookup next. So I didn't see any scenario for that because we don't get such type of requirement. So other functions also you don't get chance, but theoretically, like if some guy, like if someone asks in the interview, like uh, what was that how many functions you are aware of in lookup, so you can say like I use only lookup function and lookup match function. So remaining functions I have theoretical knowledge in remaining functions, so you should be in a position to explain the functionality at least. That's why we'll go the functions one by one. Okay, so lookup we covered, and this lookup add function I will cover. We have a dynamic lookup concept. Okay, so okay, so dynamic lookup I will cover about this lookup add and all. Lookup count also we covered. You can see local functions. For each function you can see underscore local. Lookup function you can see lookup local. Lookup count function you can see lookup count local, and lookup first local. So for each function you can see underscore local. What is this local? So we have a parallelism concept in Abinitio. Parallelism in the sense we have pipeline parallelism, component parallelism, data parallelism. Okay, so we'll cover the parallelism session as well. So what happens here is if we have some 1,000 records in our input data, as of now we are processing record by record. After first record, second record will get processed. After second record, third one will get processed, right? So in this way, if you are running millions of records, you have to wait for minutes and hours also sometimes to get the process done. But instead of running the process serially, if we can divide the data into multiple segments or multiple pieces or multiple chunks, we'll call the chunks as partitions. We have to break up the data. Like if we have 1,000 records, try to break up the 1,000 records into 4 segments. Each segment contains 250 records. Then all 4 segments will be running parallelly. Okay. So while the first segment or first partition of the input data is running, at the same time, second one also will be running. The concept is same like your database partitioning only. Okay. Parallelly, we will be working on the all the segments. This is called data parallelism. We will cover this in our after 3 sessions. We will be discussing about data parallelism after 3 sessions. And now, if you are working on the graph which is supporting data parallelism, like if the data is running parallelly, then if you go for the normal lookup concept or ordinary lookup concept, your lookup doesn't support the parallelism, because your component will try to compare the data in the lookup file, but your component is running on the four-way. Like if you have the four segmented data, and if you are running a reformat component on the four segmented data. Okay, so let me restart this machine. Problem is, right? If your reformat is running on 4 segments parallelly, then what happens? So your reformat first segment is trying to perform the lookup operation on the lookup file. Same time, second segment also. Same time, third and fourth segment also. So your lookup also should be segmented in that case. Otherwise, there is no meaning for the parallelism. Right, that is why in case if your lookup is also segmented lookup or parallel file, then you have to go for the lookup functions. Okay, so once we discuss about the parallelism, I will come back to this lookup again, lookup local again, no problem. So just remember, all these local functions are required to work on the graph which is running parallelly. Okay, so once we cover about data parallelism, then you can clearly understand about this lookup local concepts. Okay, so The next function is lookup create. This lookup create function, lookup add function, and lookup information, and all and another function is there, lookup load function, unload. All these are dynamic lookup. I will cover that in a separate session for that. But now the functions you can go through help file is lookup first function. So lookup first function by default returns the first matching record. So if you remember, I told you, so if you have the multiple matches, okay, so your version, the version I am working currently is 2.10, right? The training version we are working on, that version returns the random record. If you have 4 matches found out in the lookup file, out of 4 matches it may return first record or third record or fourth or second record also. Okay, so but from 2.15 version onwards, from 2.15 version onwards, so your lookup function by default returns the first matching record only. Even if you have 20 matches also, your lookup function returns the first matching record by default. Okay, so in case if you want to specifically use the lookup first function, you can use lookup first returns the first matching record. So the lookup function and lookup first function, these two functions are same from the 2.15 version onwards. Okay, these two functions are same, right? So even if you go for the lookup, it gives the first matching record only. Lookup first also gives the first matching record only. Okay, similarly lookup first local, each local partition. So if you have 4 segments, from each segment it returns the first matching record. We'll discuss this later. And lookup information just returns the information of the lookup. So it's a kind of dynamic lookup. We'll cover the about this in dynamic lookup actually. Lookup information in the sense, in if you pass a file name for the lookup, okay, it will give the information like this. So what is the lookup name, what is the key, data file name, and file size, data size, index. So everything you will get, number of bytes, number of records, blacks, and all. Okay, so if you want to get the information, you can go for this lookup information function, but we never use this function. We need not worry about this one. It's not copying.
Try drag and drop.
Yeah, I will try that.
యాక్చువల్గా అలా రాదండి.
ఇంతకుముందు అలాగే వచ్చేది.
అంటే అది వేరే ఓఎస్, ఇది వేరే ఓఎస్ అలా.
యాక్చువల్గా ఈ వర్చువల్ మెషిన్ ఫీచర్ ఉంది, వర్చువల్ మెషిన్ 10 నేను వేసింది. నాకు ట్రై చేస్తాను. బట్ హౌ డిడ్ యూ గెట్ దెన్ ఇంటర్నెట్?
లేకపోతే ఇది ఎక్స్టర్నల్ డ్రైవ్ లాగా చేసుకోవచ్చు, దానిలో పెన్ డ్రైవ్ కానీ ఏదైనా ఉంటే ఈజీగా వచ్చేస్తుంది.
పెన్ డ్రైవ్ ఉంటే వస్తుంది. ట్రైన్ కాపీ
నాకు
even I copy pasted here.
Machine from I don't know today what happens for this. Sufficient memory or what? Okay, I'll connect pen drive later. See that. Okay, Google Drive. I have to open, right? Oh, again it needs Google Chrome. Google Chrome again. Okay, so I will try. Fine. We'll complete this one. Lookup information, right? So same thing for lookup information. Local also give the local partition information. Lookup last gives the last matching record. If you have some n matches, if you want to get the nth match, the last match, you can go for the lookup last function. Same syntax only for all the lookup functions. You can pass the lookup file name and the expression, in the sense the key field. You can pass a single key or multiple keys. It gives the last matching record. Okay, and see, you can get the first matching record, last matching record, but I want to get the nth matching, like it can be something like second matching, third matching, fourth matching. Okay, if you want to get the nth match, you can go for the lookup nth function, right? Returns the nth match. Okay, so you have to pass the you have to pass a number which match you need. The syntax is different here. Same thing, like you have to provide the lookup file name only. Okay, but the second argument is not the key, because you need not pass the key here, because this function should be preceded by some other function. So you have to use some kind of lookup function or lookup count function. Okay, or lookup match function, some other function you should use. The same key will be used here also. Okay, in this lookup nth function, look for this some other function preceded by before this function. Okay, so then you can you can pass a number here, which match you need. You will get that match, second or third match. Syntax is a bit different here. You need not pass the key here. You have to pass the number only, record number you want to extract. Key will be taken from the previous function. Your lookup nth function should be preceded by some other function. The same transformation logic, you can use some lookup match function, lookup function, right? The same key will be inherited here also. The same key will be used by this function as well. Okay, lookup previous function returns the previous match, right? So precede the record written by the last successful call. And same function, same like local also. Lookup range also we don't use, but the function is a different function. Like I have a decimal key, my key is a decimal value, I have some deposit amount there. I want to get the match. I don't want to get the exact matching. I want to get the value if it falls between a range. Okay, so my key field contains the value 100. I am reading the value 100 from my input data. Okay, so my output sorry, my lookup file contains a value. Okay, if the value falls between the 100 and 200, I want to get the matching, because if the matching is happened between 100 and 200, I want to get the value, right? In that case, you can pass the lower bound, upper bound. Okay, so see, if there is match happen between this, and if you see this example here, all these values fall between the 1451 and 24569. So the values which are fall between these two will be moved to your output. That's what you can use a lookup range function. So these very rare requirements. So we never get such type of requirement. But in case if we have the requirement to filter the records based on the ranges, you can use the lookup range function. Okay. And Another thing is, yeah, lookup range also. We can like you can go through the help file and lookup range match. So these not required actually. Lookup range match in the sense returns it's a kind of lookup match only. The same story. If the value is matched between this range, I want to get the status whether record is matched or not. Then I can go for the lookup range match. Okay, lookup range match local for the partitioning. Parallel graph. Lookup reload, lookup load, lookup unload. I will tell you in the dynamic lookup concept. Okay, so like you can see many functions here, but the thing is all functions are very easy function. So each function has a specific functionality. That's what we have to understand. So uh, the functionality being happening by one function cannot be done by another function. That's what you have to remember. Each function has its own functionality except the lookup and lookup first. These two are same from 2.15 lookup and lookup first. Remaining are different. The concept is lookup functions we have, okay, to get the matching value. The major functions and important functions are lookup function, lookup match function, and lookup count function, lookup next function. Okay, most of the cases you will be working on only lookup function only. If you want, you can learn lookup next also important, right? So like lookup count, lookup match we covered, lookup next I will cover, right? So these four are important. So apart from these four, we have the local functions: lookup local function, lookup match local function, lookup count local function, lookup next local function. So this is a separate set of functions. So if you want to get the additional functionality, like I want to get the last matching record, nth matching record, and if the values fall between the ranges, then you have to go for the lookup nth function, lookup range function, okay, and lookup last function. This is separate category. This is what you have to divide to understand the functionality. And this is second category, right? Third one is dynamic lookup option is there. I will cover that. Dynamic lookup if you go on to go for the dynamic lookup, you have to go for the some additional function like lookup create function, lookup load function, lookup unload function. So these three also I will cover. So these three set of functions are there. This is what you have to just note down the function names. Okay, the first category is I will just type here. I will cover at least dynamic lookup. Now how to open the Google Drive to download the software. It is lookup match, lookup count, lookup next. Hello. Okay, so another set is lookup first, lookup last, lookup range, sorry, lookup n, lookup range, dynamic lookup. So dynamic lookup we'll discuss. Lookup. This is very advanced concept. We never, I mean, no, very like you don't see this kind of complex coding. Like so, there are some big projects. If you don't have sufficient memory, then only you will see this dynamic lookup concept. Lookup create, lookup load, lookup unload. These three. We have some concept called back compressed lookup also. So this is nothing we'll discuss. Like black compress in the sense you will pass the zipped file to the lookup. Okay, so compressed file also you can pass. That is called black compressed lookup. Right. So I think I'm done with the installation. I'll download the software install now. So lookup next. I'm talking here, right? So lookup next function I didn't tell you in the last session. So this lookup next function returns the the definition is returns the successive records. Successive records in the sense all matching records. All matching records. So now if you understand the two-dimensional mapping here, like how I am mapping the data from input to output, so you can map one field to another field. You can store only one value at a time. Okay, so in a column you can store one value at a time. So that's why you can either get the first matching or you can get the last matching or nth matching. You cannot assign all the matching values to one field at a time. Okay, so let me download this. So if you want to map all the values to one field at a time, your field should be vector field. Right, if you are getting the all successive records, that means if you have some 4 deposit amounts matches, you cannot assign 4 values to one deposit amount. So your output should be the vector field. Right, so now we have to understand what is the vector, how to declare vector in Abinitio. Right, so if you are aware of some programming languages, you can understand easily about the vector. What is vector and all. Right. Okay, so what is vector? Vector is the collection of similar type of element or identical elements. Collection of identical elements, right? So in the same way here also I can create a field as the vector field. Okay, so I can store the couple of values in a single field in the vector elements format in Abinitio also. Right, so generally if you want to create a DML, how can you create? You will create like decimal. Okay, and decimal of, you can use some delimiter or some size with the field name. Okay, but coming to this one, vector, how to declare vector? Very simple syntax only. Decimal, if I want to declare as the deposit, you can give size also here. You can give like decimal of 6,2. Okay, and price is my vector. Use the syntax like price of 10 I am giving. 10 is the size of the array or size of the vector here. Very simple syntax. Okay, just to open the square bracket, between the square brackets use the size of the vector. Okay, so in case, so this is n, right? So in case if you want to create a dynamic vector, because I am not sure about my size, so I may have the vector elements as 10 or 20 or 30 or 40. Okay, so in that case, if I want to create the dynamic vector creation, Dynamic vector declaration you cannot do in this version. This version won't support dynamic vector, but in your version, in your 3.0 onwards, we can see dynamic vector declaration. So how we can see the decimal of size is fixed. 6,2 is the size. Okay, you can use int here. You can give int here, and you can give price. One way. Another way is, or we can also declare like decimal. Okay, size you can give. Don't give any size here. You can declare like this also. So int is the keyword in Abinitio. So int assigns some dynamic space for this vector actually. So you can go for either this way or you can go for this way also. This is called dynamic vector declaration. Just remember the syntax. Okay, just remember the syntax, because vectors also very rare cases we will be working on vectors. Like in some of the projects, only we will be working on vectors. And so in this version we can create the vector like this. We cannot create like this. Okay, but lookup next won't support here, because lookup next function is there, but the logic won't support. I will tell you why. I will show you practical why it won't support. Let me download the software. Okay, so the syntax for remaining functions, you know about the syntax for the remaining functions, right? In the same way for lookup next also the same syntax we will follow. Right? But the difference is, so if I want to go for the lookup function, how will I write the code? If I want to get the matching price, out dot price equal to lookup of the file name you will provide, comma key you will provide, dot price amount you will give. But here I want to get all matches, right? So now my price should be vector field. That's why I can use the lookup match function. Same thing syntax we can use here also. But if you go for the lookup match like this, sorry, lookup uh, lookup next, if you go like this, you know, key is not required. Because why key is not required, I will tell you. Okay, so if you go for this syntax, so your lookup next will try to get the all values, all matching values, right? But you cannot assign the logic like this. You have to check for some you have to write a for loop here, right? You have to find out the number of matches first. How many number of records matches you have to find out first. Define the for loop based on that, right? Define the for loop based on that, and then map the value to output. Okay, so that's why very rare cases only you will see this requirement. I will tell you how to declare the for loop and how to write here. Okay, so my uh, component I am using for lookup is reformat component. Okay, so in the reformat, what I want to find out the number of matches first, right? To find out the number of matches, so what I want to do here, take one variable. How to declare variable? So I think we covered. Okay, we covered I think, but I will tell you again how to declare variable. So declaring a variable, right? Use let keyword. I am writing the code in text mode. Okay, let is the keyword to declare a variable, and I want to store the number of matches, right? You can take decimal, you can take long, okay, you can take integer also. You can take integer, or you can take decimal, you can take long also, anything whatever you want. Okay, I am taking decimal of 2 I am taking here, a decimal of 2. So my variable name is called count. Okay, so I want to initialize now itself. So the count equal to, so 0 I am giving initial, or I can directly call the lookup function also. So I am calling lookup count function, lookup count of the file name, okay, comma key I am giving. So lookup count function I am calling here. So what this function will do, it will retrieve the number of matches. Okay, so it will return the number of matches, store the count in the count variable. Right, store the count in the count variable. Okay, so get the count, store in the count variable. Right, so here since I am passing the key here, right, this key will be automatically used by this lookup next function also, since I am passing the same file name here, right? Okay, since I am calling the same file name here and here, this key will be automatically used by this lookup next function also. If the match is happened on this key, I will get the price, okay, and assign to this value. So this vector, this should be vector, I declared as the vector in my output DML, right? So here I have to define the for loop, right? So how to define the for loop? Okay, so what we have to do is for, okay, open the bracket, so I you have to declare here. Same with the one more variable, let integer I am giving, integer, okay, I am giving, right? So for I comma I less than count, so this should be 0, right? I am giving I equal to 0, I less than count, okay, so I less than count, colon we have to use in Abinitio. So there is no, like if you are working on some Java language, some other language, you will be using some curly braces to open the for loop, close the for loop. But here you have to use the colon. Okay, colon. You can use lookup next file name dot price. So that means so the for loop will be repeated for based on the count. If you have 4 matches, 4 times it will get repeated. Okay, so assign the value to this one. That's it. Right, so I am having only single statement here, that's why I am not using any kind of begin and blacks here. So in case but this is not our scope as of now, so in case if you want to define a 4 or 5 statements in the for loop, okay, if you are defining a for loop, you have the 4 or 5 statements in the for loop, so what is the begin, what is the end, so you can use the begin keyword as the beginning of the black and end keyword as the end of the black. This is not only for loop. If you want to define if black, okay, anything, if you want to if you want to like write a couple of statements in the loop, okay, or statement, you know, if you want to define a black, you have to use the begin and end keyword. Okay, if you have only single statement, not required. If you have only single statement, you know, begin and end is not required. If you have the multiple statements under for loop or under if black, another black, you know, you have to use the begin and end
Maybe
keywords. Yeah.
I will be automatically incremented.
Yes, it will be automatically incremented. You will not increment I.
Okay.
Okay, this will auto incremented. So download it, right? So, oh my god. Okay, so I will show you the same syntax in the help file also. You can get the same syntax here also. Look up next. You can also refer this one if you want to like use. See what they are doing here is, okay, they are taking one variable here, so declaring one vector variable in dynamic vector format. Okay, they are assigning all values to this f actually. So you will get confused. That's why I am returning a simple code here. I will send this code to you. You will just go through this code also, or if you want to refer help file also you can refer. So what they are doing here is they are writing for loop 2 times. So you can directly assign this statement to features directly, but they are breaking the logic into variables and statements again and again. Okay, you can directly call this one also, assign to this one also, or declare one more variable to store the temporary result and assign to final output. This is the for loop syntax. Okay, I already declared here. Okay, you can use int also, you can use integer also, no problem. For I comma I less than count, so this is the colon. Colon means beginning of the for loop. Okay, so they are calling lookup next. There is no key if you see, only file name is there. Right, so this is what you can work on the lookup next function. So you can use the lookup next in any transform components like reformat. Okay, so lookup next, the only difference is your output DML should be the vector. So whatever the field you want to use to store all the matches should be declared as the vector field. Okay, that's why you have to declare the vector field like this. You have to map the values like this, right? So admin today. Okay, today show you practically. So this is about lookup. Next, I will show you the code also in Abinitio once I install. But you can also, like, you cannot practice that. Just remember the code. The code will be validated. If you validate, the graph won't run. The graph will fail. I'll show you the error also why it fails. So this is about lookup next concept. Okay. So once it is done, I will talk about dynamic lookup also. See if everything is fine today. By this time, lookup might be over. I don't know. So Srinivas, can you share your screen for today? I'll just um, teach on your screen. If your laptop is not slow, if you can share your screen, we'll discuss on your screen. Srinivas, are you there?
మీరు పర్మిషన్ ఇవ్వాలి డైరెక్ట్ గా స్క్రీన్ షేర్ చేయలేము.
Okay, మీరు ఓపెన్ చేస్తారా అది?
యా నేను నాది ఓపెన్ లోనే ఉంది. బికమ్ ప్రెజెంటర్ టు స్టార్ట్ షేరింగ్ ది
Okay,
స్క్రీన్.
I will just give you present classes. Make this present. You are the presenter now. You can share your screen.
యా ఒకసారి చూడండి వచ్చిందా ఒకసారి చూడండి.
Okay. Yeah, I'm able to see black screen. I will wait for some time. No, I'm able to see black screen.
Even I am also can see only black screen.
Yeah.
వర్చువల్ మెషిన్ ఓపెన్ చేశాను, మీకు ఏం కనిపిస్తుందా?
Okay. So it's opening, right? It's in progress.
యా,
That
ఓపెన్
is
చేశాను.
showing last.
Are you able to see my screen right now?
Screen is visible. I think virtual machine is still in open, right? It's opening still, not yet open, right?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
so we are able to see blank screen.
ఓ, మీకు కనిపిస్తుందా ఇప్పుడు? ఎక్స్పీ ఓపెన్ చేశాను.
లేదు బ్లాక్ స్క్రీన్ అనిపిస్తుంది. సార్ పాస్ చేసి మళ్ళీ షేర్ చేయి.
ఓకే, ఓకే. ఇప్పుడు
No. So your screen is visible. I think you have to share, like you are the presenter. It is saying like 85 on screen. Let me do one thing. I will just make you as presenter. Let me I will give you as presenter again. Oh, I'm disputed. Srinivas, you join back.
yes.
Okay. Okay, no problem. I installed. I am sharing my screen.
ఓకే.
Okay. I hope you are all able to see my screen. Started recording back. So okay, so what I was talking about this is we lost everything, right? So let me take the file. I'm taking
No, I could not see. One second. Everybody is able to see Srini?
Srinivas, Gopi, Ashok,
Actually, I'm seeing the blank screen,
blank
not
screen.